Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dave with Core Confidence, and today I'm really excited to be talking with Bruce Cutting. Bruce and I have worked together for about 9 weeks now, and Bruce is an awesome guy. He's an information systems analyst, awesome dad, adventure seeker, and all around extrovert social guy who came to me, wanting to really crack down on the women stuff coming out of a divorce. So that's Bruce, and I'm so glad to have you here today. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man, and thanks for doing this. And Bruce is living, by the way, out in Lake Tahoe, California, somewhere that I visited virtually every summer when I grew up, from the age of before I could count my age until 16 or 17. So I freaking have heart and soul in Lake Tahoe forever. So I always love knowing that when we talk. And so the first thing here, Bruce, that I always start when interviewing you guys and doing this to help guys see what's possible is, where were you at and what was going on for you, right when you reached out, or even a little bit prior to when you reached out to me to jump on the phone for a breakthrough session in order to get some help with what was going on with you in your love life, and for you even social life was tied to it. Just kind of give us a feel for what was happening at the time.
Been divorced for about 2 years, almost 2.5 years now, and I came out of a pretty brutal divorce. It wasn't my decision, and I've been married about almost 20 years, and it was really sudden and pretty much out of the blue, and so it was hard, but I finally got to the point where I was really coming out of it and searching and saying, all right, who am I? And I said, I need to start dating again. How do I get back into the dating scene? And I really tried to look at all the stupid dating sites out there. And I call them stupid dating sites because you really you came at it from a totally different angle. And I really appreciated it when I found you. But to get back to it, when I looked around, I just saw your videos online. And for some reason, the way you were talking and the way you came across, I go, this guy connects with me. And I was really at a stage where I was sick of being miserable. I was sick of being the pity party, I used to like to say, and I knew that, you only have so long to live, and there's so many things I still wanted to do. And it was like a perfect time to find you. And I go, this guy has it dialed. And when I listened to your stuff online, I went, I got to contact this guy. And it was just like perfect timing, because I don't think if I would have found you a year earlier, I wouldn't have been ready for you. And you really have to be wanting to change.
Yeah.
And you're at a point in time in your life where there's more, and you can get really, really down, or you can get to a point where you're like, I'm sick of being miserable. That's where I was.
Yeah, man. And, it's interesting how you say you weren't ready for me, which is true, but you weren't ready for you. You weren't ready to change yet. Because that's the way it works. You got to be ready to change meaning you, and sometimes it's that I'm so frustrated and sick of being miserable. And sometimes it's, I want to, what I want to go towards or what I want to go away from. But really it comes down to, are you ready for you and to do the work and make the changes so you can have the new you, or the better version of you, or the version changing from the version that hasn't been working to the one that's going to work for you or thrive for you even, right? It's both. And I get what you mean, but over here on the coach's side, I'm always like, yeah. And it's really about when you're ready for that new version of you, which sometimes seems it's hard to fathom if we've been stuck in a place of misery or suffering so long. It's just like, I want out of this. I don't care what it looks like. And sometimes when we have the breakthrough calls, I ask people what they want. They're like, I can't even picture it. It's just, I'm trying to answer your questions here, but I've been stuck in here so long, and then I have to help people paint that a little bit as well. And what I'm curious about is, what was it? Because virtually everybody says that when about, when we do these interviews, is there something about core confidence, they'll say, or something about your message, David, that resonated with me, that doesn't seem like the latest, magic pill line or trick or whatever. What specifically for you, Bruce, resonated with you, that connected with you to say, I got to reach out to this guy?
It was almost like the reconditioning, the way you look at things, the way you talked about, the way it's all in your head. It's all in the way you perceive. It's all in the way you process. It's not all about just, learning tricks about picking up on chicks. It's about changing your aura, changing how your perspective is, changing from the negative to the positive. I know we're going to talk about this, but going through your stuff, the process is really cool because you really dig deep. And when you dig deep, it's just eye-opening. And one thing I want to say too, and this is a really good point. You talk a lot about extroverts and introverts, and we both know I'm pretty much an extrovert. I have no problem in social atmospheres, but the extrovert in me wouldn't shut up, and you have to literally learn to listen. It's the opposite of the introvert. You got to come out of your shell and start talking, whereas the extrovert's got to start listening more and absorbing, and it works both ways. Your program works both ways. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so great you said that. And because I remember, this comes when you first came in, we had that conversation. I remember distinctly that you like being around people. You're an extrovert, classic sign of an extrovert, recharges your energy around people. And you were repelling women for sure, but you were also repelling men just as friends and stuff. Remember that conversation? Yeah. And you would be going out and you'd tie and people would just kind of go away, like scatter. And I know if it's scatter, but that's the sense that I had. There was something you were doing, and that was part of it and that a lot of times can be with an extrovert or an extroverted thing that's their problem, not always. But that was right. That was yours, part of that, and you very quickly caught on to that. And you also changed your vibe and energy to be one where they were like, "We want Bruce around," right? They were inviting you all of a sudden. It was a quick flip, but it was also something you just couldn't see about yourself. You had no clue because you were just being how you were being.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. And it's just amazing when you apply some of this stuff that you were talking about, how quickly it turned around. And some people, like you said, some people are going to get your program really quickly and some people won't.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that I would just apply, I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff is amazing. It really does work. And I just wanted people to know that, it doesn't just take introverts or extroverts, and it can work both ways. You just almost have to, because I do think that it's a little bit targeted towards introverts, but
yep,
you just have to look at it when you're listening to you and going through the program, that it's also turn it around. You remember the night I went out and you busted me and you said, I was really frustrated, and I went out and I said, I was just really frustrated and I had to go out. And it was almost like a cop-out to not focus on me, because that's what I do. I go out and hang out with friends to ignore it, when I should have just been with myself, the opposite of an introvert.
Totally, beautifully said. Because a lot of times, right, the introvert is the one we have to coach through and push them to go out, or drag them, or inspire them, or whatever the fuck it takes on my end to help them work through the baggage. Or, not only introvert, but the shyness, the social anxiety. And for you, what was happening was whatever the pattern was, right, because you're an extrovert, is to go out and just, release and, recharge by being out. But some of the integral work that I always say is you got to do this stuff at home as much as you got to do the stuff out and about. And that avoidance of it, which makes sense for an extrovert, was like, no, dude, yeah, you can go out, but you got to do this shit first or after or some point. You can't avoid it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it does work for both. And I have shifted more towards the balance, but originally built for shy introverts because that was me, right? And so helping serve those guys, because, not for nothing in certain ways, the steps of the process of socializing and talking to women and whatever, if you can't start, you can't finish. And shy introverts have the problem at the start more. Extroverts usually down the line further in some way. Starting a conversation isn't typically a problem. But the things they do to repel people or whatever, where they can start off and people are like, cool, dude, see you later. Right? And you don't get connections with friends or women, let alone women chasing you, which is, part of the deal here too, part of the magnetic attraction. So cool, man. And so the number one reason that you reached out, I mean, it, was around women, but the conversation I remember went in a few different directions. You want to be starting a business, which you're in the process of, and supporting you in doing that. But it really was around women and social. Those were the two things. You didn't have friends to go out with, stuff like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and family.
Family.
My relationship with my kids, and my work. I mean, it really affected. This stuff goes so deep. I mean, everything you go through goes so deep. It's not just women. I mean, if you really take this stuff on and you really, really think about it and really do the homework and the growth work and everything that you teach, it's going to go to your core, and it affects everything. It affects your aura. It's cancerous, man. It just spreads throughout everything. And it's life changing. It's not just chick changing. You know what I mean?
I like that. It's life changing, not just chick changing. I'm gonna grab that for a quote. That's beautiful. I love that, dude. But that's also, again, I have to say it's a tribute to you, man. It's I can never do the work. I can coach, I can guide, I can suggest, I can push, I can draw, I can inspire. But you've got to do it. And the deeper a guy is willing to go, the more not only radical, but pervasive the changes are in a guy's life. So I've had clients that came in and they just wanted a little coaching here, there, and tweak, but I also knew there was more for them, and I could feel they were, a bit scared. And actually, I can remember a guy was an extrovert that did that, not an introvert. That, was kind of, he, and sometimes, you're hitting something and then, you got to coach around that and hopefully you can, and hopefully they don't run away because, I know in doing this work and having invested tons of money and tons of time in myself, that the deeper I go with, like, if I'm not solving a problem with a piece of advice here or a pattern change there, and it's not working, then I probably got to go deeper, right? As deep as if it's not changing and shifting with that tweak, then it's either another tweak, but a lot of times that tweak is deeper. And so the more you're willing to go to the core, like you said, down to the heart of who you are and what matters, the more that can just happen across your life, and everything gets better, whether we're talking about chicks, social, family, work. It's really common for guys to come in on women only, maybe social, and boom, their work life instantly gets better, or they get promoted or whatever, because yes, of the way I work and the way the program works, but their willingness to go deeper and really have that awareness and see, well, shit, this is something that I do not only with women, but I kind of do it everywhere, right? So, and that's core confidence. I didn't even think, when I made the name up of this, I just was like, core confidence. I didn't have to think about it. It just kind of happened, and everybody keeps saying core. Maybe that's because of the name, or maybe that's just because it's something to it real. I don't know. But, I love the way you showed up and the way that you tackle life too, that, you had gotten this place that you were stuck and frustrated. And then once we made even a couple tweaks, then you were like unleashed, man, and then you freaking went on the trip of your life. But I want to hold on that for a second, because I want to ask you the question: what were you thinking when you first signed on? And like no, it's a combination of excitement and fear. Was there doubt, hesitation? Will this work? Is this a bunch of BS? Can I do this? What were you thinking at that moment that you said, yes, I'm in, I want this life change transformation, I want something more?
I came in it, like you said, looking at how do I get more chicks? How do I get more friends? The more we talked in that initial interview, it really came down to how do I make myself happy again and approach life with the zest that I used to and find who I was again? Who am I? And it really touched a spot because you said, are you happy where you are? No. And what do you want? I mean, what do you want from life? I said, I want to live again. And I genuinely felt that, and you also, when you said, because I said, look, my relationship with my son, with my daughters is really rough because of the divorce. I don't know how to talk to them. I don't know how to deal with them. And when I looked, when you said, how important is this to you to change your life with your family, with you? If you come to the table, if you're happy, your kids are happy. It's not all about money. It's about your aura. Your aura comes to your kids too. It comes to your family. It just really hit deep. And I said, you know what? I got to do it for me and my family. And
yeah. I love that you use an aura, because we talk about vibe, but the same thing. And I know you people up there in Lake Tahoe talk about auras, and we talk about but honestly, I love this because the majority of the guys that come to me are divorced or have kids or whatever. And at some point in the conversation, I want to check and see what's going on. And depending on the age of the kids, if there are effects that the father is noticing of how they're showing up and how happy or content or, what's going on in their lives, and if that's having an effect. And of course, the younger the kids are, the more the role modeling can go on, right? The more they're looking to dad or mom or whoever, and or mom and dad's relationship and how that's going during or after the split, right? And, it's important to know that this has these effects beyond. And of course, it has effects with people and women and stuff, but that's I don't want to say self-centered, but self-serving more in a way. And it's still self-serving, right? To raise your kids right and have great kids, because, people pay dearly when their kids go through suffering. So, and that's not always in a parent's control, even if the parent is happy and content, depending on what goes on. But it gives the best shot of that, especially if something's going on. And, I talked to plenty of guys who have said, my kids have come to me and said, we just want you to be happy, Dad. We know you're not. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that really changed this whole thing too was I had a really hard time forgiving. It's not forgetting, and there's a big difference. I did not want to forgive my ex-wife. And I can tell you now that it has changed my relationship with her. And I talk to her as if she's a really good friend now. I don't forget, but I forgive. And I can see it affect the kids. The kids don't have that stress. They don't see the between the parents. And that was really important to me, because I really think that they felt the distance between us and the hate. And when I gave that all up, the kids started talking to me more. They approached me differently. They wanted to do more things with me. And it just, aura, vibe, whatever it is, man. You change yourself and you go through the program, and it really does change everything, and I never thought I'd be friends with her ever again. And I'm blown away. And I'm moving on too, it's cool too, to be able to accept it.
Yep, you've been seeing a lady having a good time with that, and so and that whole thing flipped around too. So let's talk about progress results stuff, and you've already been talking about it right here. So we're already talking about it, but in terms of how you're showing up socially and with women, and this particular woman, what changed and how you saw things, and then basically, right, you were after this woman for 2 years, and then started implementing the coaching, and boom, she came running and chased you.
It was funny. One of the things that, because the whole online thing, and It's not very fun, as you know. It doesn't work. It really doesn't, in my opinion. But I dated her a couple times, and I finally, I hadn't heard from her from a while, and we started doing the program. I unfriended her from Facebook. She frickin' called me right away. Said, "What are you doing? Why'd you unfriend me from Facebook?" I said, I haven't talked to you in a while, and I just changed my aura. I wasn't chasing her. I didn't care, and I let her know, you're out of my life. I haven't heard from you in a while, and that's cool. I hope everything's great. And she started chasing me, and she's been chasing me ever since. And now I'm, as we know, I'm trying to figure out how to back that off a little bit. But I'm in control. I'm in control of my life again. It's a good thing. I go to, it's so funny because when I go to a bar now, and it's like, I'm indifferent. And I go up to the hottest chicks, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Just how you doing?" But, and they say good, and I say good, and I turn away, and then go back and say something, smile, and go back and talk to them. I'll never forget one night I was talking to a 27-year-old nurse, and it was like in the middle of our whole thing. And that was an eye-opening experience. It was like, it doesn't matter about age. It really is your vibe. And I'm 52 years old, and I always thought as a boundary. And I don't know about 27-year-old women, but hey, I thought it was pretty darn cool that I got that far. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And it especially in person, right? Because online you can filter out by age and this and that, and it's just all data.
Right.
Versus that vibe in person. And, you already at least how you are, now you have this great vibe. You got this big old heart I can feel too. And it's just right, just, hey, how's it going? Not wanting things from women or people. And that makes all the difference because they can sense it. Especially women can just sense that, especially if they're hot, beautiful, sought after. All it takes is a little bit of an eye squint from a guy, a little bit of a, I want her too much. And I'm not saying it's wrong to have a desire for a woman or think she's attractive, but holding on to that and oh, how do I get her and want her fucks the vibe up like nothing else.
One of the best things I think you've ever said, and always to remember, is that come at this from abundance. And there's more women on earth than men. And
that's what the stats.
And
that's the lie.
You ain't the only hot chick out there. So remember that. And that's the way you kind of got to approach things, be yourself, man. Be cool and be fun, and but just know that you're just as freaking cool as she is. And they need to know that. Absolutely.
And then also on the social side, what wasn't happening that started to happen pretty quickly for you? You're going out with some friends tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm going to meet a couple people from work who are going to show up. I started, I had a problem with, because I've done a lot of crap in my life, and a lot of people haven't. And I got a lot of stories, and I'm an extrovert, and I just learned to calm down and listen to their conversations and be more involved and learning about them. It's not about you. It's not all about you. And people like to be able to tell their stories, and you ask them things about them and not you presenting stuff about you. Let them ask about you. Don't push yourself onto them. And that's what I had a big issue with. And so when I started laying back and just listening and smiling and making comments, and people, were inviting me to all kinds of stuff again. And, hey, we're meeting up on Friday, and I was getting involved. People were involving me again. I didn't have to go out and try to involve myself. They involved me. And that's a huge difference.
Yep. Awesome, man. Awesome. And, you know, what I think also happened for you was, I mean, there was some overthinking analytical stuff going on at first too, I remember, which also led to the decision to the trip of a lifetime that you want to make a recurring thing, from what I understand, in years to come.
I was looking at it today. I pulled the trigger on a trip that I've always wanted to take my whole life, to the Maldives, a surf trip. And I hadn't surfed. I haven't gone on a trip since I got married. I used to surf all over the world, and one of my bucket list trips was the Maldives. And in the middle of all this and the core confidence and going through this, I said, you know what? Overthinking. And I said, you know what? I can do this. No matter what happens, I can do this. And it even pervaded into the trip when I went. And I pulled the trigger, man. This was a trip of a lifetime. And I pulled the double trigger. I went on a 7-day island trip and a 10-day boat trip. And most people do one or the other. And I pushed myself to go from longboarding, anybody knows about surfing, from longboarding to get back on shortboards. And I'll never go back to a longboard again, from a 9-foot surfboard to a 6'1". And I was tearing it up by the end of the trip. And I got my life back. I got who I was back. I got my vibe back. I got memories back. It's not even ego. Ego's dangerous, as you talk about. It's getting who you were. I found me again. That trip brought me back to this program, and I did it in the middle of the program, and I even asked you, hey, I'm pulling triggers here, based on what you're saying. Are you cool with that? And I really appreciate that. And it really, it almost tenfold increased everything that you teach. And I really appreciate that. And I've got memories I'm still trying to publish. I don't know if you've been seeing them, but I've got drone footage and GoPro footage, and it was an amazing trip. It was the trip of a lifetime. And now I'm trying to figure out how to do it next year. And I'm gonna, and it all pervades into, hey, I'm going to get my business going. I'm going to bring in this much. And you just, one of the other things that you said is just do. Just do. And I live in the now. I don't always, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. But I live in the now. And that is so important. I always thought about the future. And as now it's just, okay, I chew away at tasks. I just do them, and it's a totally different way of looking at life, man. And it's good to be back. It's the way I used to be.
Yeah, I love that, man, because, this process, and another guy that I interviewed, Jeff Pace, it was like that, like reclaiming kind of who he was before. And there's some stuff that's new moving forward, there's some different things, but a lot of it is getting back to who you were before, previous life, previous to marriage or early in marriage, whatever. And some guys are like that. And then other guys are like, well, what it feels like to them is like, I need to become this version of myself I never was. But what it really is that version actually has always been inside, just hasn't been unleashed yet. And for you, it was kind of there, and then it got covered over, and then we opened it up again and then some, right? And unleash the beast.
Yeah. Where do we go from here? That's who you are.
Yeah.
I want to stay there. I know who I want to be. I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
It brought me back to where I was, but I know where I am. I got 3 kids. I'm divorced. I've got 2 jobs. I know, but I found out who I am, and I know where I want to go now.
Yeah. And you're going.
And my goals, I'm going back, man. I'm gonna keep going, man, until I can't.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we can define ourselves by our circumstances, right? I'm this, I'm that, I'm here. That's not who we really are. None of us. And how we relate to ourselves is how we relate to our circumstances, right? How we're seeing ourselves, treating ourselves, and how we're seeing, others in relationship to us. Like, I just can't help but hearing, right? When you talked about forgiveness for your ex-wife, how there's a sense of how that translated and connected to what happened with this woman as well on some level, down at the core, kind of like a letting go, like an acceptance, like, because, right, the word forgiveness, which I learned from some old mentors, means to give up the right to punish. It's one very powerful definition of it. But the one we're really punishing is ourselves by holding resentment and anger towards any individual, ex-wife, mom, dad, bully that beat us up, whatever. And we think by going around our head, and even when we're interacting with that person, we're punishing them, and we might be, but we're really flogging ourselves by perseverating on these thoughts, which affects our vibe and all that, which affects how we relate to women, right? Hello, because that's what most guys are here for initially, right? And I will say my favorite clients to work with, my best clients, my ones that get the most out of it, are the ones that are like, you know what? I want my life firing all cylinders. So I know this is about women, but it's also not about women. And what's going to bring me that ultimate success with women and that ease is by me looking at myself, working on myself, and seeing how this will apply to all my life. Because as we know, if we focus on women as the primary thing, that doesn't work.
It doesn't.
And it doesn't mean to be uncaring or, disconnected or any of that. In fact, it means to be more connected to who you are, your purpose, to your presence, because women love a present man, right? Extremely present man. But if that's like being needy and, my life is all for you, babe, and all that stuff that's the Hollywood movies would, point to, doesn't work. And women don't want it.
They just want to have fun, right?
Well, in that sense. But if we're talking relationship, they want a guy who's present and this and that. Yeah. But when it comes down to it, when it comes to sexual attraction, absolutely women want to have fun. All of them.
They do. They do. And never forget that. And that is really crucial. And one of the things, and I don't know, and one of the things you brought up and that, and I still will work on this and continue to work on this was I was never Catholic, and we talked about this, but I was raised Catholic. I went to an all-guys Catholic high school. And one thing that I struggle with is guilt and morality. And I'm letting it go, believe me, but that was one of the things that really helped me get over my ex, was I was punishing myself for feeling like I was going to be punished for being not, living up to my vows. But you've got to dump the guilt. You got to forgive yourself. You really do.
Yeah, man. Beautiful. Yeah. The Catholics are the worst. Jews are in second. But the Jews are never as bad as the Catholics when it comes to guilt. And I've been around a bunch of both. And growing up in Colorado, plenty of Catholics, and living in New York, lots of Jews. And I'll say, though, the Jews pale in comparison to Catholics with guilt. And so, you handled that really well. And you were open to coaching, right? You were super open to realizing that it just wasn't the way reality was. It was just the way your reality was and how you'd been conditioned.
Yes, conditioning. Be ready to recondition yourself, because it is all about conditioning and the way you process everything. And if you're willing to be open to reprocess, you will have profound changes.
Awesome, man. I feel like I'm talking to Yoda right now. You're so zenned out. I love it. You're so zenned out and
Yeah, you know what? I'm good. I'm good in every aspect of my life.
Absolutely, man. It's wonderful. And so, any final things here? Anything, you want to share with guys listening that are, jumping on, either jumping on a call or checking out emails, checking out videos, like, is this for me? Is this thing right? Like, anything that you'd want to say to them, any insights, any words of wisdom from Zen Master Yoda Bruce Cutting that you want to wrap up with?
If you're not willing to do the work, maybe it's not time for you. Maybe you are not in a place like, we talked about at the beginning of the interview, but I think you'll know, and it resonates because everything else out there I have seen, your coaching is a totally different perspective. It's not how you, it's changing your core. The core of confidence is so key. The name is so perfect because you change your core of confidence and it emanates. And you got to do the work. You got to do what that you promise you're going to say. And if you don't, you're not going to benefit. And, but if you're willing to do the work, this is the most amazing program I've ever seen.
Wow, man. Thanks so much for saying that. And for, if anybody's watching this.
You're cool too, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. I worked hard on that. I didn't used to be. So, well, I always was within. I had to unleash the beast of coolness. But, it's interesting because, yes, you have to want to change. And there's an interesting distinction that I always talk about on a break the call with a guy, is that wanting to change and knowing, or wanting, to get away from what's not working or what's, miserable or suffering and have what you want is different than being afraid to. And sometimes those get mixed. So it's like, I want to change and yeah, I do. I think I really want this, but I'm afraid. And that gets mixed in there. It looks like, well, I don't really want to change because I'm afraid. The two are actually totally separate. And I actually help people separate that in the call to determine what's best for them. If they truly want to change, if it's fear. And I'll say, if somebody's reached out and filled out an app and got on the call, they pretty much want to change. And then if there's any fear about moving forward or really jumping in and diving in and, doing the work and getting the results they want and putting it in, it's the fear that's in the way. And that's, I swear to God, a lot of the conversation. And to make a clear decision, because, the fear makes it unclear, right? The fear makes it unclear for all of us. So that's what has to really be determined. And yes, if it's like, I just want to get on a call and just have a nice conversation or vent on a breakthrough call or get little tips and tricks or Band-Aids, this call is not for that. This call is not for that. That's what everything else is for. If you really are having a struggle or a problem and want to fix it and are serious about fixing it and changing you so it's pervasive out in your life, like you said, so it's just pervasive in the aura and the vibe, that's what this call is about. And then we determine what's the best fit, right? Because it may or may not be a fit. But that's the kind of commitment that you want to come to get the most out of simply the call, let alone if somebody's going to jump into the program.
And the one thing I really like about you, Dave, is you're not afraid to call somebody out and call bullshit, because you've been at this long enough that you see, and I've heard it many times. I'm calling bullshit here, and I think guys more than women need to hear that from another guy. You know what I mean? And to hear that, you're that's not it. That's not it. I think it's deeper, and you're cool about it. You're not a dick about it, but you're like, I call bullshit, I mean, and not, you don't flat out say I call bullshit, but sometimes you do. But I like the way you come about it, and you have a good feeling for people, and you're not, the person you're talking to, and you've talked to them enough, and you have very good manners, let's just say, but you're not going to let people not dig deep. They're in the program. You're gonna make sure they find.
Oh yeah, I'm there to serve you guys and serve you to help you move forward as fast as freaking possible, as fast as you want to go. It is, and people have different paths, and some clients will be avoidant, and some clients avoid by praising me too much. Not that you're doing that here, and they're like, oh, this is what I'm like. Okay, dude, let's cut with the praise. I know you think it's great, and it's just, you love it. But, there's a pattern going on here that you might do this with other people that avoids you from relating directly or being more present or or being there with women, right? It can come in many different forms. And sometimes that's my job as a coach, to root that out and say, oh, wait a second, I've seen this pattern for a couple calls now and things aren't moving forward. Maybe there's something to that. That's part of my job, is to help. And that's why I write the information. If this was just some like information product that you bought, can't do it alone. There's not somebody there to go. And I'm not saying I'm right, but I've been doing this a while, and I'm pretty intuitive. And I'll be like, if I just have a radar for patterns, and for recurring patterns or something's getting, I sniff it out. And I'm not there to be a dick, but you know, if somebody's not waking up, hey, hello, listen up, dude.
I've never seen one of the guys on the other end go, hey, that's wrong. It's usually silence. And they're like, wow, you're right. Wow. You know, it's more like awareness. It's like, you know, wow, you really nailed it. And you've really helped a lot of people out that I've listened to on the calls.
Yeah, man, thanks.
I'm not blowing smoke up your ass either here.
Yeah.
I really do think that you have to do the work. It's all about, not you.
Yeah.
I had to do the work.
Yeah.
You were the coach, but you pointed me in the right direction. And I honestly think that it's the coolest program I've ever seen out there. And not you, the program, man.
Yeah, of course. Hey, man, I'm not even here. I'm just a vessel.
Right, good program.
I'm all good with it, man. I'll do what it takes. So to serve you guys, and those are the breakthroughs, right? Those moments of silence are the breakthroughs.
Yeah, they are.
I go for those in the breakthrough call, and certainly in the program, because those are the things that can drastically shift people's lives in the moment. But it's also, again, I have to put it back on you guys. It's a tribute to you for being courageous and willing to bring real life situations, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, interactions with women, things into the calls, because I need something to work with, right? Right? I mean, I don't want to say magician, but an alchemist needs gold or lead or something to work with, and you guys have to bring that. So the more that you bring it, you always brought it every freaking time. You were just like, hey, I got this, like right into it, which I love. Some people I gotta like tease loose. I gotta be like, have a little nice conversation. I'm waiting, and then they're not doing it, and then I gotta, okay, what are we gonna talk about? Let's go.
Yeah.
In it. And that's why you got so many different results in different areas, but accelerated so quickly, man. And it's wonderful to see that, and you made it easy to work with you. So thank you.
Hey, man.
That way.
Thank you.
Coachable, decisive, resourceful in every way. So cool, man. Thanks for doing this, brother. Really appreciate you, and that you know, gave it your all, and so excited for what's been happening for you, what is, and what's continuing to, man, as you go forth and be free on your path.
Yeah. I hope this helps others too, man.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, me too.
You know,
I think absolutely.
You really got to think about how important your life and your happiness is, because it comes from within. And not to be a Yoda comment, but if you're not happy, everybody sees it.
Yep, it comes out of the vibe, man. So crucial to especially attracting women.
Oh yeah.
On the magnetic level, without running around doing monkey tricks like a pickup artist. Okay. So, all right. So we're done, man. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you guys. Thanks, Bruce. And we're out.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, we got our beers. We decided to drink beers while doing this. So relaxing the end of the evening. So
cheers.
Cheers, man. Cheers, guys.